Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Meet America, and I'm Annie Griffin, your host, and tonight we're going to be talking about Premarin, the drug most women are using to deal with their menopause. My best friend used Premarin for 12 years and used to brag to me how at 65 she still got her periods and that she felt she could still get pregnant. And I always knew that there was a bad karma attached to when you brutalize and when you use animals and allow them to suffer. And sure enough, she came down with cancer of the uterus and had to have her uterus removed just recently. So I want to show you what our beloved horses are going through, because doctors are recommending this outdated drug. Many women now are going to a bioidentical hormone, and it seems to be doing wonders for them. So we're going to be investigating this, and the company that makes Premarin. Thank you so much for watching. And I ask all of you, after you see this movie, to please contact your congressperson and say, stop horse slaughter. Please co-sponsor the SAFE Act, and that would prevent our tax dollars from being able to be used to inspect horse meat in this country and open up the slaughter plants.
Our studios in New York, here is Stone Phillips.
Good evening. From Black Beauty to Seabiscuit, horses have long had a special place in the human heart and Hollywood. Now, a coalition of animal lovers and movie stars are fighting to save thousands of horses who could soon be facing death. It has all the makings of a Hollywood movie, except a happy ending. Here's Keith Morrison.
This one is called Missy. Missy is part of a giant secret. Or if not exactly a secret, then an uncomfortable fact. Thousands upon thousands of Missies, used to make a drug for humans, are suddenly in danger of becoming horse meat. Why? One phrase: hormone replacement therapy, or HRT. For half a century, the pharmaceutical giant Wyeth has been marketing HRT under the name Premarin, which, since it was FDA approved back in 1942, has been considered almost a miracle drug. It has also been incredibly profitable. As recently as 2001, annual revenue from Premarin was more than $2 billion. 9 million women relied on it to relieve the symptoms of menopause.
And where did this wonder drug come from? The urine of pregnant horses. Wyeth signed contracts with hundreds of farmers, most of them in Western Canada, to breed tens of thousands of horses every year. As a result of all those pregnancies, lots and lots and lots of foals, baby horses.
For years, the way the mothers of these animals were used in the production of Premarin has infuriated animal activists. Pregnant mares confined in narrow stalls for more than 20 hours a day for 5 months at a stretch, all the while strapped to cumbersome urine collection devices. The USDA has called the industry a model of self-regulation, but opponents say it's cruel, inhumane.
That, to me, is nothing short of torture. It's subtle torture, but it's still torture. You know,
Dr. Ray Kelasami is a gynecologist and horse advocate.
Horses evolved through millennia in wide open spaces. They're not animals that should be subjugated to factory farming conditions.
And what of the foals, the byproduct of these Premarin farms? They are usually sent to auction, along with those mothers whose production has waned. They can be bought for recreational use, or, as often happens, purchased by what are called killer buyers, who send them to feedlots to be fattened up for slaughter. Horse meat sells well in Europe and Japan. That is how it's been for half a century, perhaps a million horses giving their lives for Premarin. But then, in July 2002, a completely unexpected announcement changed everything.
Menopause, the decision about whether to take hormone replacement medicine seems to be getting harder all the time.
A portion of the Women's Health Initiative tested the effectiveness and safety of hormone replacement therapy. That portion of the study was halted when the women taking Premarin-type medication were found to be suffering from higher rates of heart attack, blood clots, breast cancer, and dementia. Independent of that, Wyeth began marketing a lower dose version of Premarin-type drugs. The demand for Premarin products dropped dramatically. By the end of 2003, Wyeth canceled the contracts of more than half the Premarin farmers.
The amount of horses needed went from 40,000 to 20,000 overnight.
With the stroke of a pen, thousands of once productive horses became a huge drain on the ranchers' time and effort.
These are pregnant horses now, and the only place that they're going is towards feedlots and from there to slaughter.
The drug company is taking steps to help, despite the immense losses it's incurred as a result of the decline in the sale of Premarin-type drugs. Wyeth has set up a $3.7 million trust fund to help transport the horses to recreational auctions and to equine rescues like this one, and also to help compensate farmers for agreeing to keep their horses or find new homes for them, rather than accept the immediate cash they could earn by sending the horses off to slaughter instead.
If we look at 3.7 or whatever million, it's a drop in the bucket. They have chosen to do the minimum.
They might say $3.7 million is not exactly minimum. You know, they're throwing a fair amount of money at this problem.
Well, let's put that into perspective. Wyeth has been making billions from this industry.
Wyeth declined an on-camera interview, but in a statement told Dateline it is committed to the care and treatment of the horses, and says it has acted quickly and responsibly to ease the transition to the affected ranches and their animals, providing increased funding and assistance to help ranchers have a broader access to other productive markets for their horses, including professional ranches, riding stables, and show programs.
By the time of this,
but Dr. Kalasami says that simply isn't realistic.
There's no homes for that many.
So what's the solution?
The solution so far has been slaughter.
There are those, I'm sure, who would say, come on, these horses were bred for a purpose, to provide medicine for humans that we at least thought was what they needed. And it's like a cow or any other animal. We often kill them and eat them. That's what we do with animals.
Yes, and the one difference is that horses are thought of as being an in-between between livestock animals and domestic animals, second only to dogs and cats in the minds of most of the population.
There's good, guys. There we go.
Helen Meredith agrees.
Why don't we go
She has been working for years to find homes for Premarin horses and their foals.
This mare here, she is one of the foals that we brought down from Canada.
It's an expensive process, buying one truckload of Premarin horses at a time, bringing them down to be adopted. And she says she is never, ever able to save enough of them.
You never say to yourself, I've saved 50 horses. You always say you had to leave 50 behind.
So, with the help of some of her Hollywood friends like Richard Gere and Stockard Channing, she's trying to raise awareness about how many horses are at risk.
Because everybody I have ever mentioned this to goes, they say, what are you talking about? It's not like, oh yeah, I heard about that. They literally don't know.
It's why she helps Helen Meredith raise money to adopt the horses.
It's so hard to think that they're all just going to go to a feedlot, be fattened up, and shipped for slaughter. I mean, they were just a total waste, just a byproduct of an industry. Come on, girls.
But it's Wyeth that's paying the lion's share of transporting these horses across the border from Canada to Helen's ranch. And Missy, what of her? There's a girl, 10 years old, named Beth Lowitz, who worked at 4-H fairs to save money, and just in time, had enough to adopt. And Missy won't have to know what she missed.
If you'd like to learn more about these horses, visit our website. The address is dateline.msnbc.com.
Hello, I'm Alexander Gritta, president of the Charity Book Series. I am also the author of Mystery at Silver Key Stables, a children's book about stolen horses. I donate the profit from my book to organizations that help horses in need. One of the organizations that I have chosen to support is the Duchess Sanctuary. It's a beautiful refuge for rescued horses in southern Oregon. The following short video will explain about the very special horses at Duchess.
They get breakfast at 7, and they tell you if you're late.
The day starts early for Jennifer Coons.
And I'm the ranch manager here at the Duchess Sanctuary.
Duchess Sanctuary is 1,120 acres of refuge for nearly 200 horses in Oakland, Oregon.
Duchess is a sanctuary. It's a sanctuary for horses who have no place to go.
Many of the horses were victims of the Premarin industry.
They spent their lives, the mares spent 6 months of the year standing in a tie stall in a barn with a urine collection device behind them, collecting their urine to make hormone replacement therapy drugs for women.
When the horses were no longer useful, they were sent to slaughter in Canada.
She still gets around.
Marie is one who survived.
She's our poster child. So she has had a long life of hardship.
But exploitation or abuse is no longer a part of their lives.
There's no expectations here. They don't have to earn a living. They eat for a living. They play with their friends and live in a pasture and aren't locked in a barn.
And all are now free to live in peace.
I believe that if more women knew about the suffering and slaughter of these horses, they might make a different choice. So please, if you are currently taking a hormone therapy or osteoporosis drug manufactured from pregnant mare urine, consider talking to your doctor about making the switch to a synthetic or non-PMU organic alternative.
for postmenopausal women taking hormone replacement therapy, I think it's important that the patient have discussions with their doctor. There's high risks of taking this medicine. There's high benefits for taking this medicine. But if you sit and review most of the recent studies regarding hormone replacement therapy, the higher incidence of cardiovascular mortality, the higher incidence of stroke, the higher incidence of venous thrombosis disease needs to be strongly considered. Most of my individual patients, personally, I would do my best to get off of hormone replacement therapy because of the marked increased risk of heart disease and death, especially if some of my patients have had a stent or a heart attack or a previous thromboembolism like a pulmonary embolism. Those patients absolutely need to get off of their hormone replacement therapy. The risks of these medicines far outweigh the benefits of these medicines.
Today on an all-new episode of The Doctors.
Please welcome back to our show, Robin McGraw.
Robin McGraw and the miracle cream that changed her life. Will it work on you?
I have energy. I just want to thank Robin's body. And the reason that I picked bioidenticals that are compounded at a compounded pharmacy is because I did my research on everything, on the synthetic, on all bioidenticals. And I love the compounding pharmacies and believe in them because when they prescribe my estrogen and I go to that pharmacy, it is very personalized. They create the dosage that works for me.
And I want to get into that a little bit more. Today we're removing the shame surrounding menopause with our special co-host, Robin McGraw. Robin took Deanne to see her gynecologist, Dr. Prudence Hall, for her perimenopause symptoms. The next stop, a compounding pharmacy to get her prescription for bioidentical hormones.
Okay, here we are. Hi, Sharon.
Hi, Robin.
I want you to meet Deanne.
Hi, Deanne.
Hi, it's nice to meet you.
Pleasure.
I've tried to tell her as much as I can about compounding pharmacies and bioidenticals, but I really think it's the professionals that need to fill her in on everything.
We got your prescription from Dr. Hall, so if you'd like to, we could go and show you how we make it.
Oh, that would be great.
So this is our compounding lab.
What is a compounding pharmacy?
A compounding pharmacy is one where we custom make your prescriptions. They're individualized for you, so it's not like a one-size-fits-all standard dose for everyone.
Do you consult with the patients that the doctors send in here? Is that something you offer?
Of course. It's just another step that we do here to make sure that they're comfortable. Over here we have the chemicals that we use to make your prescription. And then we're going to mix in a cream, which is the base that you rub on, and it's an HRT cream. And
now HRT
is a hormone replacement therapy cream. It's a moisturizing base, and it just rubs in really well. It's a nice smooth cream. Now what we do is we put it through an ointment mill to mix it even better so that it comes out more even and smooth.
Okay, so I know this, but I know that Deanne doesn't know this, that when you do her prescription, her dosage is 2 clicks.
Yes.
So can I show her what it is?
You can show her. There's nothing in there. It's just
this is not real estrogen. Yeah. This is just cream, so I can show you. You take it, click, click. So you heard the 2 clicks. There it is. There's no confusion. You put it on your arm. So I just rub this for a good 10, 20 seconds. And then I kind of fan it and I let it dry, and then there's my estrogen for the day.
And then we do sublingual tablets and troches, which you put under your tongue. Then we have the active ingredient, which is whatever you're going to put in the troche. In this case, we're doing DHEA, so we're going to weigh that out. And then we pour it into a mold. And this is the final product that we end up with once it dries up. And this is one where there's nothing in there, so you can try it. And it's flavored. We can flavor it different things.
Oh my gosh, it's like chewing gum. Oh, I like this. I want to thank you so much.
Thank you.
Because I have learned even more than I thought that I could learn. I want to thank you for having me here.
Thanks, Robin.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You know something, ladies? There was a lot of estrogen in that room.
Well, that's what it's about.
Good estrogen.
Yeah, right. So that's the only thing they can recommend. But we know that if you go to a safe compounding pharmacy, it should be okay. You just have to do your research on it. That's actually the recommendation right now. And also, it's cheaper. What happens with a lot of my patients is when they start doing these things, especially in this economy, they can't afford it. And really, you can get some of that.
That's what we're talking about here, is what women can do who may not have as much money to spend on bioidenticals, but I want to talk with Sharon Steen because she's the owner of the Central Pharmacy and Compounding Lab where Robin and Deanne went. One of the biggest criticisms, of course, is quality control. People also have questions about cost. So you are from a very reputable compounding pharmacy. Quality control measures that you all use?
No one cares more that the patient is getting the correct dose than we do. We have specially trained staff that go and learn how to compound. They learn how to use the equipment. We have standard operating procedures so that someone comes and, someone makes a compound, the next person makes it exactly the same way. We take random samplings of our products that are made and we send them to an outside lab. It has nothing to do with me. And
so how does someone know, though, that they're going to a reputable compounding pharmacy? Because you go through all these great quality measures, but let's say I'm a woman and I'm going to start bioidentical therapy.
You took your estrogen. Yeah.
Now I'm a really woman. How do I know?
Well, I think it's important to have what we call the triad, which is the pharmacist-doctor-patient relationship. So you could, to start with, if you didn't know from a friend or whatever, a good compounding pharmacy, you could start by asking your doctor, who probably has a relationship with a compounding pharmacist and is trusting that these things are being done. Or you could call your pharmacy and ask them if they do sample testing.
And also we check levels, patients' blood levels and urine levels. So if a sample of a patient's bioidentical hormone is not where it should be, her levels won't be where they should be either. And we don't find that. We find that bioidentical hormones that come from compounding pharmacists are absolutely fairly standard, I would say, in the industry.
But there's still, like you mentioned before, pharmaceutical companies do make bioidenticals as well. Absolutely. Your point with compounding pharmacies is that you can get a more precise dose for your specific patient.
More personalized, individualized.
Yes. Well, the pharmaceutical companies will make a small, medium, and large, for example, and we can individualize with these natural creams. And I've used bioidentical hormones for probably 7 years in my practice, and I have absolutely used the Vivel Dot, which I think is a very good product, and Chimera and the vaginal rings.
What she's mentioning is bioidenticals that are produced by pharmacies.
Yes.
So, but let me ask you about cost difference, Dr. Hall, because that's what everyone's going to want to know.
It's less expensive to use the bioidentical compounded products. For example, we can look at a vaginal ring, which is about $80 a month for a patient to use, whereas the compounded estrogens here, the natural bioidentical estrogens, cost about $20, which is the price of a copay.
Dan, you've been on these for 10 days now?
Yes.
How are you feeling?
Incredible. It's like another life has started, or I've got my life back. I just want to thank Robin for taking me there and taking me through this process, because you've given us our life back.
Well, you are so welcome. I'm thrilled that you're feeling better. And I wanted to say, too, also about the compounding pharmacies. I actually went to a compounding pharmacy first, and I visited with the pharmacist, and he was the one that led me to the proper doctors that I could then go and see if we had a fit. And I went to my first pharmacist and started on my bioidenticals 12 years ago. And I have to say that they've just been wonderful for me. I've never had that big swing, that big fluctuation in mood swings or any of the symptoms. These are so personalized for me that I have just 2 clicks from the estrogen and I have 2 clicks from the testosterone, and then I'm done for the day.
Well, Deanne, Dr. Hall, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
So much more to say about bioidentical hormones. Talk with your own OBGYN and go to our website, thedoctorstv.com. Ask us your questions.
Hardin is an energetic mom who makes it to the gym daily, but it wasn't always like this for Linda.
After I had my twins, and they're 9 now, everything hit bottom. My anxiety attacks came on, panic attacks, and I knew it wasn't just in my head.
Linda talked to her doctor but got nowhere.
OBGYN, went to him first. I thought I was having a nervous breakdown, just didn't understand what was going on. He told me, here's an antidepressant, go talk to somebody.
Linda says the negative feelings didn't go away.
That was not the answer, and I knew that.
Linda began reading and researching, finding out about bioidentical hormones. Her research eventually led her to Dr. Eldred Taylor, an expert on the subject.
He got me back on track.
I hear this story all the time. A 35, 40-year-old woman who complains of hormone-type issues and adrenal-type issues with the stress and the anxiety.
Dr. Taylor is an accomplished speaker and author on bioidentical hormones, and in no time, he helped Linda get back to her old self.
Probably within the first 2 months, my kids would notice things that I was doing. They said, whatever you're doing, keep doing it.
What Dr. Taylor did was measure Linda's hormones using a saliva testing kit for more precise results than a blood test.
If you're going to balance something, you've got to be able to measure it. You've got to measure it appropriately, and hormones, fat-soluble hormones, are not measured appropriately in the blood. You need to measure it in the saliva. You have to measure the hormones, you balance them, and now all those 10 or 15 symptoms go away just by balancing those basic hormones.
Dr. Taylor actually had a very personal reason for researching bioidentical hormones. His wife, Dr. Ava Bell Taylor, began experiencing similar problems right after giving birth to their youngest child.
Shortly after that, I began experiencing mood swings, anxiety, insomnia, and I just felt like I'd lost my edge.
She asked her husband to look into bioidentical hormones. Though reluctant, Dr. Taylor finally listened to a tape about bioidentical hormones, and from that tape, he was determined to find out everything he could on the subject. His wife was his first patient.
I tested myself, and I tested my female hormones and also my adrenal hormones as well. Of course, they were just wacky. I mean, they were totally out of balance, and from there, my husband prescribed a progesterone cream, and almost immediately my symptoms just improved. I was sleeping, I was calm, the severe PMS was much better.
Through treating his wife, Dr. Taylor changed his approach to medicine altogether.
Now, what I try to do in a patient is try to identify the abnormal physiology and to try and correct the physiology. Where I was really taught to listen to the symptoms and then find a pharmaceutical or a drug answer to cover up the symptoms and not really involve myself in trying to fix what may be the underlying source of the problem.
Traditional hormone treatments have a one-size-fits-all approach. They use a patented formula that's given to every patient. Bioidentical hormone replacement uses the hormones progesterone and estrogen. Since they are naturally occurring, they can't be patented.
It's like trying to fix a Ford with a Nissan carburetor. It just doesn't work in everybody. One size doesn't fit all. So you have to figure out what that particular person needs, and you have to replace it with exactly the same hormone that is deficient. Money makes the world go round, and no one is going to put a lot of money in research if they don't think that they're going to be able to exclusively benefit from it.
Now the Taylors are bringing their knowledge and research to others, educating both doctors and patients.
As we became more and more comfortable and knowledgeable about bioidentical hormone replacement, we began to write newsletters, which led to a book, Are Your Hormones Making You Sick? Because we felt that there was a tremendous need out there for women to become educated about their options regarding hormone therapy. Women have not been given the full story regarding hormone replacement, so our job and our mission is to put all the information out there regarding bioidentical hormone replacement and synthetic hormone replacement, and so they can make the best choice for themselves.
I'm out trying to educate doctors about this information so that we can change the standard of care by getting more reasonable physicians to think in this more physiologic, holistic type manner.
Linda Harden is also on a mission. She doesn't want other women to suffer for years like she did.
What is it going to hurt them to do a saliva test? Nothing. You know, it may cost you a little bit of money. It's not a lot. It's worth that investment for your sanity and just for yourself. I mean, you do it for other things, your hair, your nails, whatever. Do it for your health.
In an ideal world, horses would run free in open fields. What you're seeing right now is exactly the opposite of that. These are Premarin mares, horses used to make hormone replacement drugs for menopausal women.
Premarin is a true natural. definition of natural comes for plant or animal source. Premarin comes straight for a horse, so it's very natural for a horse, not necessarily natural for a person.
Dr. Michael Goodman is a gynecologist who specializes in perimenopausal medicine. He says he hasn't written a prescription for Premarin in about 15 years.
There's a lot better things available, a lot more effective.
Premarin is derived from pregnant mare's urine, or PMU. PMU farms are located in Canada. Horses are confined in narrow stalls and strapped to urine collection devices for about half of their 11-month pregnancy. The foals produced in this industry year after year face an uncertain fate. Often slaughter is the only option in an already saturated horse market. United Animal Nations, UAN, has been working on the Premarin mare issue since 1996.
Premarin is a drug that's used as a hormone therapy for women who are experiencing menopausal symptoms like hot flashes.
Millions of women take Premarin or the related drug Prempro every year. They're taken orally by cream or patch. They are the most popular hormone replacement drugs in the world. Estrogens have been linked to breast cancer and other medical conditions.
But if you look at internists and family docs who prescribe a lot of hormonal products, they're prescribing Premarin 90% of the time because they're back there 10 years ago. You know, if you're not really following the literature day by day, you know, at least month by month or even year by year, to see what's going on, you're prescribing what you remember prescribing when you were in residency or when you were in training back 10, 20 years ago.
Women can help Premarin horses and themselves by simply asking questions.
Become educated so that you can ask your physician the right questions, which is, why should I take hormone therapy? Why shouldn't I take hormone therapy? What's the best method of hormone therapy? I see you're writing a prescription for Premarin. Why are you writing that? Didn't you know that that's sort of old-fashioned, that there's better things now? The bioidenticals are actually synthesized products, but they're synthesized from plant source to be biologically identical to what your body produces. It makes a whole lot more sense. And also, it's not just about hormones. It's about what you do with your own body. It's about exercise. It's about the food that you put into your own body. And it's about your state of mind and mindfulness and so many other things.
I want to help get the word out about the situation with the Premarin horses and that there's a lot of synthetic alternatives. I'm a veterinarian, so of course I'm really concerned about animal welfare.
Sanchez is so concerned that, with the help of United Animal Nations, she's adopting a 9-year-old Premarin mare named Xena. She hopes her horse will become a teacher, another opportunity to educate people about Premarin and why they should seek alternative therapies.
I feel really good. That's exactly what I wanted to see.
In concert with concerned individuals like Mita Sanchez, United Animal Nations is helping to rescue Premarin mares and undertaking an aggressive outreach effort to educate women about the many alternatives to Premarin. For a list of more than a dozen alternatives to Premarin, and for more information about the PMU industry and the dangers PMU drugs pose to women, pick up a copy of Premarin, The Bitter Truth by visiting UAN's website.
Xena's going to have an amazing life. She's going to have the life that she deserves.
Bringing animals out of crisis and into care. United Animal Nations, UAN.org.
Equine estrogens. Conjugated equine estrogens contain estrogen molecules. Conjugated dihydrophilic side groups, for example sulfate and DA, produced from the urine of pregnant equine horses, mares. Premarin is the prime example of this, either alone or in Prempro, where it is combined with a synthetic progestin, medroxyprogesterone acetate. Women had been advised for many years by numerous doctors and drug company marketing efforts, at least in the USA, that hormone therapy with conjugated equine estrogens after menopause might reduce their risk of heart disease and prevent various aspects of aging. However, a large, randomized, controlled trial, the Women's Health Initiative found that women undergoing HIT or HRT with conjugated equine estrogens Premarin, in combination with a synthetic progestin medroxyprogesterone acetate Premarin plus Prevara, known as Prempro, had an increased risk of breast cancer and heart disease 40. An increase in breast cancer risk was not seen in the Women's Health Initiative study of conjugate estrogen alone Premarin versus placebo. However, this study was stopped prematurely as an increased risk of stroke was observed in women treated with Premarin. Although this increase in risk was small overall, it passed the thresholds that had been established by the researchers in advance as sufficient to ethically require stopping the study. When these results were first reported in 2002, the popular media sensationalized the story and exaggerated the risk, while the manufacturer continued to attempt to minimize the degree of risk. However, most news stories failed to mention that the average age of the women in Y was 62 years old, significantly older than the time when most women start HRT, and in fact many years into post-menopause. In order to enroll in the study, patients had to be asymptomatic of hot flashes, so they would not know whether they received the placebo. For these reasons, Y was not representative of generally accepted clinical practice. The 2002 and 2003 announcements of the Women's Health Initiative of the American National Institute of Health and the Million Women study of the UK Cancer Research and National Health Service collaboration respectively, that HRT treatment coincides with an increased incidence of breast cancer, heart attacks and strokes, lead to a sharp decline in HRT prescription throughout the world, which was followed by a decrease in breast cancer incidence. On hearing the news about the Y study, many women discontinued equine estrogens altogether, with or without their doctor's knowledge. The number of prescriptions written for Premarin and Prempro in the United States dropped within a year almost to half of their previous level. This sharp drop in usage was followed by large and successively larger drops in new breast cancer diagnoses at 6 months, 1 year, and 18 months after the drop in Premarin and Prempro prescriptions, for a cumulative 15% drop by the end of 2003. However, the apparent meaning of this correlation is called into question by the fact that prescriptions of Prempro and Premarin fell dramatically in Canada as well, but no similarly dramatic drop in Canada's breast cancer rates was observed during the same time period. Studies designed to track the further progression of this trend after 2003 are underway, as well as studies designed to quantify how much of the drop was related to the reduced use of HIT/HRT.
As Martha Rosenberg noted, the author of an excellent book, Born with a Junk Food Deficiency, just as this lithograph tells you everything you need to know about slavery, the fact that electroconvulsive therapy, electroshock treatments, were prescribed for menopause in the United States tells you everything you need to know about Western medicine's view about aging women. Here in this 1946 medical journal ad, amphetamines, speed, was recommended in conjunction with such fundamental measures as electric shock and estrogenic therapy. Doctors could throw in a little Thorazine too while they're at it. Hormone replacement therapy grew to prominence in the 1990s when millions of women were sold hormones from pregnant mare urine on the promise that it would prevent age-related diseases. But instead, it may have caused them. Women on hormone replacement therapy suffered increased risk of heart disease, stroke, pulmonary embolism, and invasive breast cancer. They said it would help preserve women's memory, but may have in fact caused dementia as it shrinks women's brains. When the truth got out in 2002 and the number of prescriptions dropped, so did the rates of breast cancer. And horses got to walk around once again. Thanks to high-profile celebrity endorsements, though, interest then switched to so-called compounded bioidentical hormones from plant rather than equine sources, and advertised as not carrying the same risks. What does the science say? A bunch of new reviews on the subject out from the American College of OBGYNs, the Mayo Clinic, to the editors-in-chief of the Journal of the International Menopause Society. All concluded that bioidentical hormones, being bioidentical, carried the same risks, benefits, and side effects, which is not a good thing. And even worse, when the FDA actually analyzed them to see if the contents matched the label, nearly a third failed the analysis. Even in the same bottle, doses could be all over the place. Okay, all universally opposed, but look, how do we know, everyone just isn't in the pocket of the pharmaceutical industry who, just doesn't want the competition? Well, whenever I'm skeptical, I turn to the medical letter on drugs and therapeutics, considered to be one of the least biased sources in medicine. They're kind of like the Consumer Reports of the drug world, and in fact was actually co-founded by the co-founder of the publisher of Consumer Reports more than 50 years ago. As they like to brag on their website, the medical letter does not accept grants from any source, donations from anyone, funding from any entity. They won't let their work be used for promotional purposes, and they don't accept any advertising. They recently reviewed bioidentical hormones and came to the same conclusion. There is no acceptable evidence that bioidentical hormones are safe or effective. Patients should be discouraged from taking them. Last year, pancreatic cancer ate Patrick Swayze alive. Before him, it was Pavarotti. Pancreatic cancer is one of the deadliest cancers. Less than 5% of victims even make it out 5 years. Thankfully, it's rare. Only strikes down about 30 or 40,000 Americans every year. But how do you study something that's so rare? You bring to bear the largest study ever. The NIH AARP study is currently following 500,000 American men and women in their 50s and 60s. It is the largest forward-looking nutrition study ever conducted. What did we just learn from it about pancreatic cancer? Well, we've known pancreatic cancer was a lifestyle-related disease, related to smoking and the dietary intake of fat. But what kind of fat? Enter the NIH AARP study. What do you think they found? Who thinks pancreatic cancer is associated with beef fat? Bacon, chicken, fish, dairy, eggs? Anyone want to change their answer to none of the above? What about all of the above? The answer, according to the largest such study ever, is all of the above. Dietary fat of animal origin was associated with increased pancreatic cancer risk. What about dietary fat of plant origin? I covered up the rest of the conclusion so we could find out together. Who thinks your typical vegetable oil is associated with pancreatic cancer? The plant fat largely found in nuts, the saturated fat found in chocolate and coconut milk? All of the above? None of the above? Let's look at the rest of the conclusion. Dietary fat of animal origin was associated with increased pancreatic cancer risk. And that's the end of the conclusion. Pancreatic cancer is significantly associated with red meat, significantly associated with dairy, and when one adds in all other meats, fish and eggs, it makes the cancer connection even stronger. But no association with plant fat. Conclusion: evidence of a role for animal fat in the development of pancreatic cancer, but no connection with any kind of fat from plant food sources. What if we just eat animal foods that are low fat, like skim milk? An even newer study out this year found an even stronger link between pancreatic cancer and animal protein, an even tighter correlation than with animal fat. Plant protein, on the other hand, appeared protective. even animal sugars are associated with pancreatic cancer. There's only one animal sugar, lactose. So animal fat, animal protein, and animal carbs all independently associated with pancreatic cancer risk.
There is bad karma from eating our suffering, tortured animals, especially because majority of people who are eating them don't even try to give them a better death. They're not even interested in finding out. They're not even interested in picking up the phone and calling their meat company and saying, what are you doing to make these animals have a better death? I don't like the way you're slaughtering them. So there is bad karma in every way in your life, whether you believe it or not. You're going to pay, and you're going to pay dearly. You're going to pay in ways that you might not even be aware of. But you will pay, and you will suffer, and the whole world suffers with you.
各位观众朋友您好，欢迎再次收看大法古节目。那么在上一集里呢，我们提到了英国的狂牛病导致牛群遭到大量的扑杀，这是因为呢发生狂牛病之后，人们担心吃了狂牛病的牛肉呢会引发脑部的病变。而在非洲呢，也传出人们因为吃保育动物黑猩猩的肉而感染了一种叫做伊波拉的世纪病毒。我们在台湾经常也听说有一些人远赴越南或者是其他的地区去吃熊掌或者是其他野生动物的肉。人们为什么一定要吃野生动物的肉呢？佛教讲因果，人们吃了这么多野生动物的肉，又要担负什么样的因果呢？让我们恭请圣严法师来为我们开示。
其实动物啊，原来都是野生的，没有一样动物啊是家畜。因为人类的历史啊渐渐的演进，为了保障平常或者是呢遇到风霜雨雪天冰地旱的时候啊，还有东西可以吃，所以说呢把养一些猪了，养一些羊了，是这样子的养牛了，但是呢渐渐的说家畜和这个野生动物就把它分开了。野生动物作为保育的动物，原来也不是什么保育的，就是因为被人类啊这个残杀的太过分了。也就是说，在我们这个地球上啊，野生动物啊越来越少，而人口素质的越来越大。每一个人都希望尝一尝野生动物的肉，一直到现在，在台湾的山地同胞啊，他们还觉得野生动物的肉比这个养殖的那一些动物的肉好吃。所以说呢，野生动物啊，从原始时代开始就是被人类啊欺负啊猎杀当作食物来吃的。不过到了今天这个文明的时代呢，由于啊这个野外的环境，不管是森林或者是呢这个河川越来越少，越来越小，而许多的动物渐渐地啊就在我们这个地球上啊绝种密集，只有到了这个博物馆呢去看了他们的标本，其他的已经看不到他们的真正的活生生的动物了。所以变 变成了所谓保育的动物，所以受保护的动物，而不准人来这个猎杀。但是呢，人类啊，许多的人就是一种贪心、虚荣心，以及呢骄慢心、骄傲心呢作祟啊。有了一点钱的人都希望啊能够吃到一些古古怪怪的东西，人家没有吃到的他吃到，就满足他的虚荣心，满足他的傲慢心。所以要这个向人家炫耀，说哦，我是吃过什么样的这个野生动物的肉的哦，觉得自己好像啊非常的神气光荣。其实那是野蛮，那是无知，那个是愚蠢。凡是受保护的，而我们不遵守这个保护的共同的共识的一种规律或者法规的话，这个人就是野蛮人。那么现在我们再说回头来，在我们这个世界上喜欢或者是呢希望好奇而吃野生动物的人还是大有人在。特别是金钱物质的环境、经济的条件比较宽裕的人，他们就希望来尝一尝这是野味。人类到了今天的这个时代还在那边那么野蛮的，这个还那么残忍的，这不是一种讽刺，而是走的人类的历史的倒退嘛。所以说呢，从一般的观点来讲，这都是有问题的。何况站在一个佛教徒的立场来讲，如果我仅仅是站在佛教徒的立场来讲，可能有很多的非佛教徒说这是你们佛教徒的事，这是你的迷信，这是你们这个愚蠢。那我们要讲到今天我们整个的大自然的环境来讲，这个受保育的动物是不应该把它破坏的。我们这个自然环境之中有许多的所谓自然的条件，某一类的动物的它的生存，它就能够是保护人类的自然的环境，保护到什么程度？它一定是有自然的一个彼此互相的调剂的作用的。那我们今天破坏了环境实际上是对我们人类的生存也受到威胁的。因此呢，如果站在佛教徒的立场来讲，不管是野生动物也好，是这个养殖的动物也好吃了多了的时候是不是有什么果报呢？在佛经里说，凡是有这个凡是灾难，不管是水灾、旱灾、冰灾，或者是流行的疾病，这都是是共业所成。在共业里边主要是杀业，杀业重那我们会遭受到的共同的果报就会大，就会多。何况这个别的个人的今生杀业重，来生会有种种的果报，成为人，或者是也成为动物，或者是更凄惨的地方可去。因此我们能够少造一点杀业应该是对我们现在对我们的未来都是好的。阿弥陀佛。